You heard the first number. You caught that first glance. You heard that first sentence. And in that instant, just that 1 second, your mind flung an invisible hook into the ground. The metallic clang against stone echoed deep inside your brain. The anchor was set. No matter how far you try to go, no matter how rationally you try to think, you are now a ship circling around that first reference point. You think you're free. You think your choices are your own, your values filtered through your own judgment. You're wrong. Right now, you are nothing more than a prisoner, circling around the first random piece of information presented to you. In the middle of a negotiation, at the beginning of a relationship, or in the quiet moment when you look at yourself in the mirror, the same mechanism is at work. Someone quotes an absurdly high price for a shirt. Then they offer a discount. You feel relief at the second price, thinking it's reasonable. But that second price is only reasonable compared to the first inflated lie. Its real value, irrelevant. Your mind already accepted the first number as truth. The anchor is deep. You can only move as far as the rope allows. And this isn't just about money. If only it were that simple. It's about who you are. Let's go back to your childhood. We have to, because most of the rusty chains start there. The first value assigned to you by a parent, a teacher, your first love. The first moment you were made to feel not enough. That was your first anchor. Years passed. You changed cities, read books, maybe earned money, maybe were loved. But the voice inside, that invisible accountant, still compares today's successes to that first not enough. You feel better, yes, but according to what? According to the first humiliation, according to the first loneliness. Your 0 point was never chosen by you. It was imposed, a random coordinate, and your life is spent trying to move away from it, pulling the rope, tugging, but you can't break free. The human mind fears the void. Uncertainty is our oldest enemy. We'd rather anchor in the wrong port than drift in the open sea. So we cling to the first piece of information we encounter, even if it's completely false, ridiculous, or manipulative. Consider an experiment. A roulette wheel spins randomly. The number 65 comes up. Then someone asks you, what percentage of countries in the United Nations are in Africa? Your answer hovers around that meaningless 65. If the wheel had landed on 10, your guess would be near 10. Absurd, isn't it? A spinning wheel, and yet it influences your knowledge, your worldview. It does, because the mind is not lazy. It's scared. Walking blindly in the darkness of the unknown, the first thing it touches is assumed to be truth. Think about how you carry this into your relationships. If you were neglected in your first serious relationship, then the tiniest scraps of attention in the next feel like a feast. You set your standards not by universal truths, but by the first trauma. He doesn't hit me, so he's a good guy, you tell yourself. Their texts aren't daily, but at least they're not cheating. Because the anchor is in the violence. Because the anchor is in the betrayal. You measure your worth against others' misery. This mechanism, the anchoring effect, is not a cognitive flaw. It's a loophole in your operating system, ruthlessly exploited by the world. News outlets, politicians, advertisers. First, they present a disaster scenario, a terrifying, unacceptable first offer. They drop the anchor in the darkest, most distant spot. Then they offer something better, just tolerable enough. And you say, I'm grateful. But what you're grateful for is only the gap from disaster. This is why, in negotiations, the first number usually wins. The first person to speak sets the boundaries of reality. Everyone else has to play within those limits. How many times in your life have you been the first to set the number? Or have you always been chasing what others declare reasonable? Don't tell yourself, "I'm smart, I won't fall for this." Even the cleverest minds fall. Sometimes they fall hardest because a smart mind can construct elaborate excuses to remain loyal to the wrong anchor. Why you stayed in that job, why you loved that person, why you defended that idea, everything can be rationalized. But at its core, it's just fidelity to the first random reference point. Stop for a moment. Breathe. Feel that invisible weight anchoring you to your spot. Maybe your definition of success is your father's unfulfilled dream. Maybe your idea of beauty is that photoshopped image you saw in a magazine at 14. Maybe your political beliefs are the echo of conversations at your family dinner table. None of these are truly yours. You've been mistaking the rusty piles left by others as your roots. Recognizing this is painful. Seeing the anchor means admitting how slippery the ground beneath yourself really is. Most of what you call me is just a polished version of "I was subjected to this." Our minds try to correct. We attempt to move away from the first information. But studies show the correction is never enough. We drift away, but only as far as the rope allows. Never far enough to sever it. A half-hearted rebellion. Could life itself be a graveyard of insufficient corrections? A slightly better job, a slightly kinder partner, a little less pain. All of it cast in the shadow of that first reference point. None of it the full ocean. So, what do? Is there a way out of this mental prison? Complete escape may be impossible. We are, after all, comparing machines. We cannot think without reference, but we can choose our reference points, or at least notice how arbitrary, random, and meaningless they often are. The price tag in a store, the value someone assigns to you, the first trauma, you realize none of it is a universal law. It is just an event frozen in time. The moment you realize this, that is when a crack forms in the chain. Let's change the metaphor. Perhaps the problem isn't the anchor. Perhaps the problem is the ship itself. Perhaps you cling to it because the open sea terrifies you. Being anchorless means drifting, and drifting means losing control. Better to cling to a painful past, a false belief, a system that exploits you, than to let go. Freedom makes your head spin. Endless choice makes your stomach churn. That's why we are lovers of anchors. They tell us who we are. They tell us where to stand. They draw our boundaries. But now, right in this moment, I want to plant a seed in your mind. What if the truth you believe now is just the first lie you were told? What if your potential was limited by the first "you can't" you heard? What if your definition of love was shaped by the first coldness shown to you? Then who are you? Who remains when you strip away all these rusty metals, the judgments of others, the sediment of your past? Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. There is only one way to find out. Betray the tension of the chain, the false peace of the safe harbor. Reject the first offer. Erase the first impression. Remove the first trauma from its role as your compass. You must set the ship free, without knowing where it will go, without calculating where the wind will carry you, because the place where that rusty anchor sank is not your home. It is merely where you sank. And the place you sank is not where you are meant to stay.